Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another broadcast of Best MMA Picks. I'm your host, JD, and we're going to get right down to business here. We're going to try to make this video short and sweet. It's a little late right now on March 14th. We've got a big card coming up this next Saturday in Brisbane, Australia. It's UFC Fight Night 85. Taking place Saturday, March 19th, 7 p.m. Pacific in Brisbane. It's going to be Mark Super Samoan Hunt versus Frank Mir. It's kind of a smaller card. Not really a whole lot on the prelims card. We've got 5 fights total, 2 on Fox Sports 1 prelims, and 3 on Fight Pass. I'm not going to cover any of the Fight Pass or the Fox Sports ones prelims. I'm just going to be giving my gut picks, which are based off of just straight knowledge from the past and zero handicapping. So keep that in mind. I am very familiar with most of the fighters on the main card, and I did watch the footage on those. Pretty confident in my picks with that. However, as we saw with the last card, as we get new info or tips from our sources, we've actually been getting a lot of follower tips from people that are actually, since our network has grown within MMA, we've actually been getting a lot of information from people that are at different gyms and whatnot, last minute stuff. So, that definitely has helped us with our picks quite a bit, having that network of people to, pool of people to get information from. We do appreciate any tips that any of you guys have given us. In the past, we have had a lot of people come out and give us information that they, that we were either missing or that they knew about that we didn't. So really appreciate that. Thank you. We're coming off of a big win, or a pretty good gain, some pretty good gains on our last card. We went 7-1. We're in the positive, I think, another $3,000 roughly. And we could have made it a positive $5,000 night had our top two picks hit on our 2-leg parlay with Holly Holm and Conor McGregor. And of course, our two number one picks, or number one and number two picks, both lost. Unfortunately, we thought we were going to get the sweep there because everybody thought that Conor was going to knock out Nate Diaz. And same goes for Holm. Decisioning, we thought Holm would get the decision with Miesha Tate, which she was going to get, and then it was almost kind of a fluke. I can't take away anything from Miesha Tate, but she brought her A game, and she was able to lock in a sub last minute. Really upsetting though, but hey, that's the way it goes. I'm happy for Nate Diaz. I'm a huge fan. I just didn't think he would be able to get it done. I thought he was going to take too much damage. So let's get down to business here. I'm going to go really quick through these. We're not going to get into a whole ton of detail, but what we do have here, first fight, we have Beck Rawlings and Seo Hee. Rawlings is the hometown girl. She's an Ultimate Fighter winner. I think Ultimate Fighter Nations winner, if I remember correctly. I didn't actually watch that season, but I did watch some of the footage from it. Seo Hee is 16-6, fighting out of South Korea. She's mainly a striker with, I believe it's a heavy judo base style. I did watch film on both of these gals, and honestly, I would have to give an advantage to Seo Hee on the feet with the striking. She's the more technical striker out of the two. She's got really good boxing, really good head movement. She's going to definitely have a speed advantage. Beck Rawlings is definitely more of a technical, or actually just straight up brawler. And Seo Hee is coming off of an actual decision. It was a very close fight. In my opinion, I think Courtney Case probably could have taken that fight, but it could have gone, it was literally a coin flip. You could have gone either way. Courtney Case, got a couple more significant strikes. In my opinion, I think she actually took that one, but, I was actually betting on the other side of that fight, and it was a little bit on the disappointing side, But that was a fight night, I believe, I think that was in Korea, actually, if I remember. Yeah, that was Henderson versus Masvidal. So yeah, this one, it's kind of going to be the other way around. We're flipping the script here. We've got the hometown girl with Beck Rawlings versus this, you know, experienced UFC fighter that's coming off of a win. Honestly, if I'm putting these down on pen and paper and I'm looking at footage, I definitely would probably have to pick Seo Hee here. However, just given the history of how things have gone in the past in Australia and in England with judging, judges seem to definitely favor, their countrymen in these fights, and they definitely have been, the inexperienced judges in these other countries that aren't part of a lot of cards. They typically tend to gravitate towards the hometown heroes, um, even when they do somewhat poor jobs. If it goes to decision, there's always that risk there. Um, I think this fight will be pretty close, just like the one that, in Korea on the Henderson Masvidal card. I'm predicting this one to really, I'm predicting it to go to decision. I don't see a finish here with either of these gals, and I see both of them definitely keeping the fight on the feet. I am getting the better of the technical striking, but definitely probably getting rocked with a couple shots like she did on her last fight. Um, I got to go with Beck Rawlings here being the hometown favorite. And I think that, she might not actually get the better of the striking. I think that she's going to get enough to eke a decision out, possibly. And she's definitely an underdog here. I don't know if it's worth a play or not. I'm not sure if we're going to play this one. We may only have a couple plays on this card, to be honest. But for my prediction, I'm going to go with Beck Rawlings to defeat Seo Hee in a very close decision. Um, that one could go either way though, but I'm leaning on the hometown heroes here. Next fight, we've got James Huna, Steve Bosse. Both these guys are talented fighters. James Huna is coming off of 3 losses in a row. He's a great fighter though. He has really good Muay Thai, good grinding style of kind of technical brawling style. He's also got a good ground game, good ground and pound, very heavy-handed, smothering type fighter. Um, he's had some unfortunate losses, though. His last 3 UFC fights, he's been finished in the first round in every single fight. Bosse is coming off of an absolute brutal KO loss against Thiago Santos, who, in my opinion, is actually a really underrated guy, who's on a streak. I think it's a 2 or 3 fight winning streak, who's just absolutely just destroying guys. Um, so I don't, that doesn't surprise me there that Steve Bosse got finished by him. Um, I actually was on the wrong side of that one. I thought Steve Bosse was going to possibly get a finish, but Steve Bosse's definitely now had his 2 losses have come by KO TKO. So he does have a questionable chin. We're not sure about, how that's going to hold up here. But in my opinion, I'm not sure that James Huna has the power to finish Steve Bosse um, like some of these other guys. I don't think he has those head kick KO, you know, abilities that some of the Brazilian fighters have with the Muay Thai. I see James being more of a dirty boxer type. And I think Steve Bosse that fits right into his style, being a hockey enforcer. So I'm predicting Steve Bosse and this one to be a pretty exciting fight. It could go all 3 rounds and it could go 1 round. It's just hard to say. I think it's going to go 1 round, and I think it's going to be Steve Bosse getting the better of James Huna. James Huna is a heavy favorite here, but I could see there being an upset just because of the fact that James Huna has just had some really bad luck lately. And Steve Bosse is definitely, he's only lost twice. If you count here with what the UFC says, he's only lost once. So, and the other thing that I really like about Steve Bosse being an underdog here is he's a tri-star fighter under Firas Zahabi. Um, they have some of the best MMA strategy out there. Their training camp, is bar none one of the best in the world. And I think that he's going to come back and rebound off of his loss. He really did not do well for his first UFC appearance. It was embarrassing, quite frankly. So I could see a motivated Steve Bosse coming in and grinding out an upset or possibly getting a finish here. So might be worth a look at the under here. And I definitely think Steve Bosse is a game live dog here at 2-1. A lot of people might think I'm crazy because he looked terrible with his first outing, but Huna hasn't looked great either, and he's a 2-1 favorite coming off 3 losses. I'm sorry, but I would probably have to favor the underdog here, given that the underdog is an athletic former hockey player. Definitely does, have issues with the cardio there, and he's got legit power where he's not been knocking guys out, in lower tier leagues. So definitely a look there with Bosse. I don't know if I'll play it or not, but I could definitely see that being one of the upsets of the card. I think one of these guys is going to get finished, though. I don't think it's going to go all 3 rounds. Next fight, we've got Daniel Kelly, Antonio Carlos Jr. This one's going to be an interesting fight. We've got an Olympic judoist with Daniel Kelly and Antonio Carlos Jr., Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I believe, black belt, if I remember correctly. I'm going to have to confirm that here. I know he's a high-level grappler. I forget who it's under, but he is actually a black belt of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu underneath Hader Medeiros. So he's a Novo União fighter. He's fought 3 different weight classes: heavyweight, light heavyweight, and middleweight. And he's dropping here from heavyweight down to, which is kind of his natural weight that he walks around in. He's dropping from heavyweight down to middleweight. So he's dropping 2 weight classes. He was a huge middleweight when he fought against Eddie Gordon, whom he completely dominated on the feet. His last fight was against Kevin Casey, and he actually could not continue due to an eye poke. Excuse me. Which was really unfortunate. I was looking forward to that fight. Carlos Jr. looks humongous at middleweight. So, and he didn't seem to have any issues with cardio with the weight cut. Daniel Kelly's probably going to lose this fight, but I don't know that I can justify laying 5-1 odds on a guy like Antonio Carlos Jr. Granted, he's a great fighter, more than likely going to get the victory here, but man, Daniel Kelly and those odds at positive 400, there's so many underdogs on this card that, there's more than likely at least one of them that's going to hit, so it might be worth playing a small play on Kelly here. I don't know that I play a large play, but he definitely could get, the better of him on the feet. More than likely not better on the feet, but he could definitely get Carlos Jr. to the ground. I don't know that he's going to want to do so, just because of the fact that Carlos Jr., he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That'd be a mistake, I think. But being an Olympic judoist, that's a very high level of grappling. He could probably hold his own there. And I believe he's also trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think he was like a brown belt, if I remember correctly. So he's got some credentials with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. See if I can find that. If I remember correctly, I read it. I believe it's on the UFC website. He's a brown belt. Take a look here at his profile. Daniel Kelly, he's got grappling with the judo. He's got some wrestling experience. And then, also whatever his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu credentials are. He's a purple belt. My bad. So he's not quite a brown belt yet. He might be a brown belt now, but he has he finished 7th in the Olympic Games in judo. So he's right up there with super high level judo. And then he's got the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He could probably hold his own, or at least survive on the ground with a black belt. He's not quite a brown belt though, but definitely, the advantage on the ground will definitely go to Carlos Jr. But given that strong judo base, he may be very difficult to get to the ground. So, and he's definitely gotten, kind of the better of a lot of fighters over the last couple of fights. He's eked out some decisions. And when you look at his record, he's only lost, I believe it was like one or two times. He's only lost once. So, keep that in mind. This guy is one of those guys who somehow finds a way to win, even as an underdog. But I would definitely say that Carlos Jr. is the better fighter here and most likely to win this one. So I'm going to go with Antonio Carlos Jr. to defeat Daniel Kelly by a close split decision. Moving on to the next fight, Jake Matthews versus Johnny Case. Matthews is the hometown hero here, the Australian-born fighter. 10-1. Johnny Case is the American fighter. 22-4. Both these guys are coming off of some pretty impressive outings here. Jake Matthews, his last fight, he absolutely dominated and finished Akbar Ariola, who I actually had as an underdog play. I think Akbar Ariola has some really underrated ground game. And at one point in the fight, Jake Matthews in the first round was actually in trouble, and I thought he was going to get finished, which I was hoping for because it would have been a nice cash. But he actually ended up TKOing Ariola in the second round of that fight. So, always worth playing on the underdog, though, when, they have that 6-1 odds. I mean, you can't deny somebody like Ariola as being dangerous on the ground. Or not dangerous on the ground. Case is a purple belt in Miles Jury Jiu-Jitsu, which, has kind of a combination of wrestling and jiu-jitsu. He trains with Miles Jury. He has a very similar fighting style to Miles Jury. I wonder why. But he has kind of the flashy striking abilities, very explosive fighter, probably has a little bit more power than Jury, or at least close to Jury for his size anyway, pound for pound. He's very quick and very technical striking, knockout abilities within his legs and in the hands and his hands. Matthews, I would say, out of the two of these guys, I say that the one who's more likely to make mistakes would be Jake Matthews. He's a younger fighter. I don't like going against the hometown heroes because we've seen this happen time and time again. But I do think that Johnny Case has a legitimate chance of finishing this fight, either by submission or by KO, TKO. I don't think Matthews is going to want to stay on the feet with Case for very long. Case has some really good takedown defense. It doesn't look like it's great here at 68.75%, but he's actually a very difficult guy to take down and keep down on the ground. He's got a pretty good sprawl. He's really quick at good timing his sprawl and countering takedowns. So I think that Johnny Case is probably going to get the better on the feet here. And if Jake Matthews can't get him to the ground, he's going to be in trouble. Although Matthews definitely has KO power and he has some good striking and dirty boxing, I think Johnny Case is much more technical. And the one who's most likely to make the mistake, in my opinion, is Matthews here. And I like Johnny Case as an underdog play. He's not much of an underdog, but I think that they're undervaluing him here. I'm going with Johnny Case here to defeat Jake Matthews by a TKO. Second to the last fight in co-main event, we've got Hector Lombard versus Neil Magny. And both these guys are definitely kind of on hot streaks. Neil Magny's actually coming off a loss to Damian Maia, which in my opinion was, anyone going up against Damian Maia these days is, the guy is on a tear. And I was really impressed by the way, he's actually coming off 2 wins here. Magny's just been back-to-back fighting everybody, and, it's hard to keep up with all these fights that he's had. He's not coming off a loss. He's coming off of the 2 victories recently off of Eric Silva and Kelvin Gastelum. Split decision on the one with Kelvin Gastelum. I definitely think, though, that Neil Magny got the better of Gastelum. He got him down to the ground 6 times. And Magny just is a busy fighter. He just stays busy. He throws well. He's good at defending the takedown. He did get taken down twice, though, by Gastelum. Silva, he got a unanimous decision. He out-threw him by almost 3 times the amount. And Maia, he just could not get Maia off of him. Anybody that allows Maia on top is going to probably lose the fight, because Maia is just one of the best BJJ practitioners in the world. So, hats off to Neil Magny for actually surviving and not getting finished there. So what we have here is we have a Olympic caliber judoist with Hector Lombard against a very game striker and mainly striker boxer with Neil Magny. Hector Lombard's been very difficult to get to the ground, mainly because of his judo base. Guys just cannot get him down. He's just got that. He's really stocky and just about impossible to get to the ground. He's got an 84% takedown defense. So he's got the better of the takedown defense out of both these guys. He's extremely explosive, very explosive with his hands. He's got an issue with some range and a reach disadvantage here. So he's going to have to find a way to close the distance quickly on Magny, which is going to be really difficult, in my opinion. Magny's a really good, he's next to John Jones. He's get to be one of the better distance and range fighters out there that uses his proper height and reach advantage as a distance fighter, fighting from a distance. So he really uses his reach and his leg reach advantages. And this is going to be especially troublesome against, for a fighter like Lombard, who needs to close the distance quickly and will be prone to getting picked apart by strikes from afar. I think Lombard is super fast and super explosive. And if he can land or get a hold of Magny's waist, he's going to be able to land takedowns or maybe even a hip toss. But it's going to be definitely hard for him. Magny's going to have some leverage there with his height. So, it's really hard to see exactly how this is going to play out. I don't necessarily like that odds makers have Magny priced at a negative 150. I think that it's a little bit overvalued. They're not giving Lombard time of day here, but maybe they see something that I don't. And maybe they think Lombard's just going to roll over or something, or just get picked apart completely. And Lombard definitely has looked a little flat-footed on his last couple fights, but I still think Lombard is the better fighter here. I think he's more explosive, and I think he definitely has the ability to knock out Magny. I just think out of all the fighters that he's going to face, I don't think Magny's going to be an easy guy to TKO. But if he connects with Magny, he's definitely going to put him to sleep. But I think his better strategy here is going to be to get Magny to the ground. And I think he probably will be able to get it done a couple of times. I think this is going to be a very close fight. And I have to go with Hector Lombard. He's one of my favorite fighters. So I may be a little biased in picking him here. The only thing I'm really worried about, though, is that range of Neil Magny. But everything else, to me, Lombard has much better credentials in his wrestling and his judo. He's got better credentials. He's got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and a judo black belt, second dan. Magny, I think, is a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's got really good improved striking, though. So, on the feet, I would have to give Neil Magny a slight advantage here. Power advantage goes to Lombard, and the ground advantage goes to Lombard as well. So, out of all of those things that add up, I think Lombard's got more advantages, so I'm going with Lombard. He is an underdog here, though, so keep that in mind. But I do like him here. I think it's a gift. I think he's going to probably get this one. It may be a closer fight than what I would like. I'd like to see a finish, but I don't see it happening here. I think Lombard's going to eke out a decision, a dangerous decision that's going to be dangerously close. So that about does it here, and we've got our last fight. of this card, and it's going to be Mark Hunt versus Frank Mir, Super Samoan. I'm actually really looking forward to this fight. I like the matchup. Mark Hunt is at home, which is kind of plays to his advantage. He's got a really big fan base in both Japan and in Australia. This fight, I think, is going to be it's not going to play out the way people think. I believe that Mark Hunt will definitely rock Frank Mir at least once, but I see Frank Mir with his improved boxing. I think Mir is going to be able to weather the Mark Hunt storm in the first round, and I think that he's a crafty veteran. You can't count him out. He used to be the heavyweight one of the title holders in the past. So, he's finished guys that are at the highest level of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Nogueira. Finished Nogueira, put him, sent him to the orthopedist. So he's one of the highest level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu heavyweights, if not the highest. If this goes to the ground at all, which I think Frank Mir is going to find a way to get it to the ground when Mark Hunt tires out, Mark Hunt's, is not going to be he's gonna be in a whole world of trouble with Frank Mir if it goes to the ground. So I give the ground advantage to Frank Mir. On the feet, I definitely give a slight advantage to Mark Hunt with power and with his striking ability. And but we actually, if you look here, we've got a 7-inch reach advantage with Frank Mir, and I give a slight speed advantage to Frank Mir as well. I think he's got really good head movement with his improved boxing. He's got that reach advantage. I think he's going to pop in and out on Hunt, and I think he's going to land a few good shots, possibly rocking Hunt and getting him either against the cage and on the ground, or getting him just knocking him down and getting on top and locking in a sub. So I'm going with the underdog here. I'm going with Frank Mir to defeat. I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for this, but I'm going with Frank Mir to defeat Mark Hunt by submission on the ground at home. So that's my bold prediction of the night. Got a lot of decent underdog plays here. I don't know how many we're going to play. And I'm going to give you my gut predictions for the prelims between Leslie Smith and Rin Nakai. I'm going to go with Rin Nakai. I think she's only lost once. I think you got to play her as an underdog here because she has the ability, and she's a black belt in judo. I think she has the ability to get Leslie Smith to the ground. Leslie Smith has been vulnerable to some takedowns in the past, and I think that she's not the highest fight IQ. Neither of these gals are very high fight IQ, but I give a little bit more discipline to Rin Nakai. I think she has a really unorthodox and awkward fighting style, and I think she's going to have a little bit better luck getting Leslie Smith to the ground than she did with Miesha Tate. So I think Rin Nakai is going to rebound off of her last fight, and I'm going to go with her to win this one by either a split or unanimous decision. Between Daniel Hooker and Mark Adeva, I'm going to go with Daniel Hooker here to get this fight done. I'm going to say by a decision as well. On the next fight, I'm going to go with Chad Laprise to defeat Ross Pearson by a split decision. And on the next fight, I'm going to go with Viscardi Andrade to get this fight done via submission. And last fight. This fight could be a tough one to call. I don't like the fact that Alan Jouban is a negative 500 here, although I would probably say that he's going to get the job done. Brendan O'Reilly, the Badger, is definitely a guy that you can't count out of a fight with his wrestling abilities. And I think he's going to be a live dog here. So, boy, I want to go with Alan Jouban here, but I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to make my gut prediction here. My gut, with something with the Badger here, I think he's gonna make this fight a dog fight, and I'm gonna go with Brendan O'Reilly here as a huge underdog play. I I think he's got a shot here. I think he's a live dog. But the most likely scenario here is Alan Jabbar to defeat Brendan O'Reilly. But I got to take a shot on him here with my gut. I'm going with Brendan O'Reilly for my gut play. So kind of some bold plays here. I'll probably be wrong on a few of them, but I might be right on a few as well. And the ones that I'm right on, they make up for more than 2 or 3 losses. So, depending if you bet the same amount. So that about does it for this card. Please, if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at the bottom here. Hit subscribe immediately. We do post all our plays free. We post our plays live just before card starts on our Twitter feed at twitter.com/bestmmmapicks. We also post our videos on our website, bestmmmapicks.com. And we have an Instagram account now as well. Have a huge following on there, and it's instagram.com/bestmmmapicks. We will post one pick to each of our social medias, including our Facebook account, our Facebook page. Give us a like there if you would. It's facebook.com/bestmmmapicks. So look out for our Facebook page and look out for our Instagram, where we will post one play to each. One of each of our top 3 plays will go there. So coming off that good card, let's continue to roll in the dough. And our goal as always, is to get more money for everybody, work as a team. If anybody has tips or any information that you think might be helpful, leave a comment below. We appreciate that, and thank you for tuning in. And I'll see you at the cash window. Everybody have a great week. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Stay safe out there.